So you want to make cool decals like this for your objects. I'm going to show you how to do it really fast. So the first thing you want to do is open your design software. I'm going to use Canva for this, but you can use any kind of design software for this. It's not complex. So I'm just going to grab a graphic here. I'm going to use sci-fi decals, which is the same thing I use for that gun. And then we're just going to grab something super simple like, that's a bit too much, isn't it? We'll grab this. Boom, look at that. Pretty cool. So grab your object. You might want to scale it up or down, but I'm just going to keep it like this, probably be fine. And then before we export, all you're going to do is you're going to add a slight blur to the object, because this will give it a more organic feel on your model. Because if it's just straight black and white, it will be very jagged and it won't look as good, especially if you're going for realistic stuff. If you're trying to do game assets or something like that, it will probably be fine if you don't blur it, but I'm just going to blur it for this example. And then after you've done that, you're just going to export it, and remember to keep the background, because Blender needs to know which bits to elevate and which bits to keep level. So export it and we'll go back into Blender. So now open up Blender onto a new project. So we're going to keep the cube, and for this to work, you're going to have to unwrap your models. So if you're using bad topology or something, it might come out a little bit differently, but the workflow we have should be fine. But just remember that you have to have your model unwrapped for this. But luckily, the default cube is already unwrapped for us, so we don't need to worry about any of that for the fundamentals. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to materials, and then you're going to add a new material if you're using something different, but for the cube, it'll be fine. Then we're going to go into the shader editor. And then the first thing you're going to add in is a image texture. Boom, easy peasy. And then you're also going to add in a bump node, bang. And then you're going to put the color into the height, and then you're going to put the normal into the normal like this. And then we are going to add our image that we just downloaded. So now that you've got your image in, if we go into material mode, you can see that it's like starting to do something on the cube, but it's all weird and doesn't look very good at the moment. And that's where the UV unwrapping comes in. So if we come over to the UV editor, we can see here that the entire cube is trying to use this image as its normal, and we don't want that to happen. So what we're going to do is we're going to select everything, and we're just going to scale it down, and then we're going to move it on the white, or just anywhere that doesn't have the decal you want, because this isn't affecting the actual material color, it's just affecting the height of wherever the decal is going to be. So after you've done that, what we're going to do is we're just going to click one of these faces, for example, or wherever you want to put the decal, and then we're going to scale it up until it matches the decal, and then put it somewhere like this. And then if we go back into layout mode, boom, look at that, it's on there. And then obviously you can change different things. So you can bring it down, make it metallic, looks a little bit better. And then something I like to do to make it stand out a bit more, if I just move this down, is to add a noise texture, and then add a color ramp, and then put the FAC into the FAC, and then put the color into the roughness. And then we just scale this, and then it will start becoming a little bit cooler. And we're just going to change this to object mode, or UV mode. And then it should start coming out a little bit cooler. Obviously it's a bit whack because I'm doing it so fast, but you get the idea. Looks more normal, but obviously play around and see what works for you. And so that's a cube, easy peasy. But what if you wanted to do it with a more complex model or something you're working on right now? So I'll just pick a project that I worked on in the past. So this is one that I did like a week ago. It's like this little AirPod robot thing. And I want to put the decal on the body of this thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to, I'll just hide these armatures for now. We're going to select the model, and then I'm going to show you how to unwrap it quickly. Usually I would do seams because that gives you a better flow on the UV, but since we're doing this, it should be fine. I'll put it into the UV editor just so you can see what I'm doing a bit better. So currently, nothing's happening. We got a blank square because we haven't unwrapped the UV. So you're going to come up to this UV button here. If you already do have some weird UV thing, you can hit the reset button and that will reset everything and you'll be left with this blank square. But what we're going to do, if your topology is good, is smart unwrap, and it should come out relatively okay for this example. So we'll just smart unwrap the project. We won't change anything. I don't think it will be fine. And then we'll get this absolute jumble, but at least it's relatively clean, you know. So now we've got this whole thing ready to go. So we come back into the layout and do exactly what we did before, which is add a new material like this. Actually, we can put it straight on the AirPods. So grab the material that you've shaded with. We've got a little noise texture going into the roughness with a bit of bump on it. But what we're going to do is we're just going to add the image texture back in, and then another bump node. Not a noise texture, where'd that come from? Another bump node. Then color into the height, normal into the normal. And then we are going to open, give it a second to load. And we currently have nothing going on, which is fine. So we come back into here. We click on this little image icon at the top, and then we just click the image we want, and then they'll probably bring it up in the actual editor if my mouse wants to let me go over. Yeah, there it is, right on the bottom. You can see there. Let me take this plane off. Boom, like there-ish. Looks really bad. Not where we want it to be. We want it to be on the center point here. So what we're going to do, going to select everything. So we come here and we just drag and select everything like this. And then we are going to scale it down and just put it in the white so that it's not hitting the decal, just like we did with the cube. Boom, boom. So now it's completely gone, as you can see, all back to normal. Lovely. And then we're just going to select the points where we want the decal to be seen. So for me, that is going to be these squares here. Squares like this, bang. And then now that'll be the only thing selected for this material. So then we can drag and select all of those, and then we can do exactly what we did before. We'll just scale it up and then bring it across like this. Looks like this was going to need to be rotated, but now you can see that the decal is there. So we will just rotate this 90 degrees, maybe 270. There we go, have it upright. And then there we go. And then what we can actually do is we can bring this down and then just move it so it's up a little bit like this, bang. And then now if we go back into layout mode, we have this sick decal on the model. And that's a super easy way to get like more interesting textures on your models. I wouldn't recommend doing this too much if you're trying to do something super realistic. There's better ways to do it, but if you just want some easy decals on stuff that won't be seen really close up, this is the easy way to do it. So I hope this has helped. Subscribe, obviously, and like the video if you learned something new. And let me know in the comments what you want me to talk about next. I do a lot of hard surface modeling stuff. If you want me to go into UV unwrapping a bit more, we can do that too. But let me know, and I hope you enjoyed.